In recent times, because of US-Israel-Iran war, we have been talking about Strait of Hormuz as just a global choke point. But we have to look at it as an opportunity for the global players to come together and show resilience, bring multipolarity back into the picture, and if US cannot actually bring the movement to Strait of Hormuz, maybe groupings of nations for the right purpose can. And this is exactly what 60 plus nations have decided to do. They want to come together and ensure that if US leaves the global choke point without ensuring movement through it, they might be able to. Hello everyone, welcome to Vajiram and Ravi's Flash News. My name is Shubhangi Singh, and in today's session we are going to understand that what exactly is the plan B that 60 plus nations are proposing that if US leaves this war without securing Strait of Hormuz. So let us begin from the scratch, understanding the location and why Strait of Hormuz is a conflict-ridden place as of now. We all know about that 4 weeks before commenced the US-Israel-Iran war, which has been escalating every day, and every day we have been seeing its impact across the globe in form of energy crisis, in form of rise in crude oil prices, in form of global supply chain disruption, and so much more. But when we talk about this very conflict, we have to understand that Strait of Hormuz is so much more than just the global choke point, especially for Iran. It is a leverage, a strategic leverage that they are exercising, and it is visible through the ship movement. Iran has blocked the Strait of Hormuz, and it is almost 4 weeks since then, and a strait which saw movement of more than 100 ships. We are seeing only 3 to 4 ships moving across this strait, and only after they have permission from Iran. So this is why Strait of Hormuz remains a key point in US-Israel-Iran war. Now the question is, why this number, the change of number, is a big problem. It is a big problem, you have to understand, with the importance of Strait of Hormuz. Strait of Hormuz, a narrow connection between Persian Gulf and also Gulf of Oman. This is what gives the exit from Persian Gulf to Gulf of Oman and then Arabian Sea, and this is responsible for transit of more than 20% of global oil supply. So yes, this is about the nations which import oil, especially with reference to the continent I'm going to talk about, that is Asia. But at the same time, it is also about exporters which are present there. So when we are understanding the strategic importance of Strait of Hormuz, it is not just the fact related to geographical location, but what does this geographical location serve to be? It is a critical point for major exporters in this region: Saudi Arabia, UAE, Iraq and Qatar, and also Iran. It is absolutely essential passage for oil and gas exports which happen, and making it a very important energy transit route. It is responsible for 1/5, that is 20% of global oil and gas supply, and furthermore, it becomes vulnerable for 2 reasons. First, I've already mentioned out that this is only a 21 to 39 mile narrow width carrying passage, and second, it is prone to geological disruption. Furthermore, it is prone to geopolitical disruption, just the way Iran is using it. So this choke point very easily turns into what? A strategic leverage, because Iran present here is restricting movement of tankers through this narrow passage. Now it becomes very important not just for oil, but all the exports that happen of different goods and services. So we are going to see the impact not just in terms of imported inflation, but disrupted global value chains and also energy crisis, energy shock for the globe. So this has been unfolding. So what has been the solution to this? Because this is not new. This has been present in the scenario from past year. Iran has always threatened the closure of Strait of Hormuz to show the world that what kind of risks are present if they come against Iran. So in this situation, since the war unfolded, US has offered plans to finally end the war, which have not been acceptable to Iran, and now US is planning the exit. And US says, we don't care about Strait of Hormuz. We have enough for us, we are big enough to manage, Iran war is going to end. So that is why we get to see, as of now, other nations are worried about that how this strait will be secured for their supply. So if they want to ensure that this global disruption does not occur, what should be done? And that is why we have a crisis situation. Because US might exit without securing the Strait of Hormuz. And if this happens, the consequences are not just for US, it is for everybody. So what everybody has decided? They have decided that we are going to come together, and not like US, we are not going to threaten. We are going to use means such as diplomacy first strategy, we are going to avoid military escalation, and we are going to focus on UN mediation, sanctions, and safe shipping corridors. This is how we will propose it to Iran. We will try to make it work, and if it doesn't, we will also move towards naval coordination. Now, this becomes a very important statement from these 60 plus nations, which includes India as well. Why? Because if you remember, almost a week back when US asked for the same thing, that naval ships should escort the vessels out of Strait of Hormuz, US got a firm no from not just NATO members such as France, Spain, UK, but also other allies such as Japan. They said, no, we are not going to do this because this is going to escalate the war, and this is your war, not ours. So this is where, without escalating, members are ready to come together, first to talk it out, first to solve it through diplomacy. If not, then move towards naval coordination. And this is a very welcome step in this situation, because after a very long time, you will see movement towards not unipolarity, not bipolarity, movement towards multipolar governance, where countries are trying to come together for a cause. Now, when we talk about this cohort, the group that is coming together, this was chaired by United Kingdom, another NATO member which refused to join the naval escort plan of US. We have other NATO members such as France, Germany, and other members such as Italy, United Arab Emirates, and also Japan. The list is long, but the whole evidence that following the Trump route might lead to escalation, but coming together and sitting down to talk, placing diplomacy first without escalation, might actually bring some solution. Now, as I mentioned, India is also in for this plan, because we have been discussing this for very long, that how India is heavily energy dependent for this particular region, and the opening of Strait of Hormuz is important for them, and also safety of Indian vessels which are present in that region. But apart from that, there are other impacts that India is worried about. Imported inflation, widening of current account deficit, risking the growth that is happening. And that is why India wants freedom of navigation. India is maintaining strategic neutrality, but at the same time, India is not cutting off ties with all sides. India is engaged with the US, India is engaged with Iran. This is the engagement that facilitated movement of vessels by permission of Iran from the Strait of Hormuz, specifically for India. India is very well engaged with the European Union and also Gulf states. This is a very important position for India, but all the more difficult to maintain. So in this context, coming together with these nations is seeming like a good step, but we might threatening our engagement with US in this context, which has been very dicey, especially in the last 1 year itself. Now, on this note, we will be straight up moving to understand what are the implications to this. The most important implication that we might understand this as the first step to actually weakening of the US hegemony that was created by force, especially in past 2 years. As a result, it is important that in coming time, we do focus on diplomacy, we do focus on alternatives, diversification, safe corridors, and for the long term, our plan has been intact, but we really need to revamp it and fast track it. Now that was all from my side. What are your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comment section. Thank you so much.